Does your existing health insurance have creditable prescription drug coverage? Well, if not, you may need to buy a Medicare Part D drug plan to avoid a penalty. I'll explain coming up next. Andy Stamus here with Medicare Mindset. Today's video is going to focus entirely on creditable drug coverage, what it means, why it matters, and how to avoid a penalty. Let's get into it. Just a quick reminder of Medicare's initial enrollment period. You initially have 7 months to enroll in Part A hospital and Part B medical through the Social Security Administration. And it's also the same time frame to obtain Part D drug coverage through an insurance carrier. If you've already enrolled in Part A alone, or Part A and Part B, you can submit an application for Part D coverage during this time frame. But if you delayed Part D enrollment because you are still working and covered on your employer's health plan, you might start to accrue a late enrollment penalty if your previous insurance did not have creditable prescription drug coverage. Coverage is considered creditable if the actuarial value of the coverage equals or exceeds the actuarial value of standard prescription drug coverage under Medicare Part D. So basically it means your coverage is expected to pay out in drug claims as much as the expected claims paid under the standard benefits of Part D. Here's a visual of what this looks like. What's happening here is Medicare is setting the bar, and your existing health plan may or may not meet that bar. If your existing drug coverage meets or exceeds Medicare's Part D standards, it's creditable. But if your existing drug coverage doesn't meet the Part D standards, it's non-creditable. The best way to verify if your previous drug coverage is creditable is to check with your employer or entity you are insured through. They are required to provide you with an annual notice about this. So what are some examples of creditable drug coverage? The most common is through an employer-sponsored health plan. Other scenarios are through the VA, TRICARE, the Indian Health Service, and of course a standalone Part D drug plan, as well as a Medicare Advantage Part C plan that includes Part D drug coverage. Now let's look at how this works in two different scenarios. One where you enroll in Medicare Part D right at age 65, and the other where you delay. Scenario number one is if you enroll in Part D at age 65. An example of this would be if you aren't covered by a group health plan, or if you intend to leave your employer's group health plan when Medicare eligible. So in this situation, it won't matter whether your existing health insurance has creditable drug coverage, because you'll be obtaining creditable drug coverage either in a standalone Part D plan or a Medicare Advantage Part C plan that includes drug coverage. Scenario number two is if you delay Part D at age 65. An example of this would be if you intend to stay with your existing group health insurance coverage. But in this situation, you definitely need to confirm if the drug coverage is creditable. Remember to verify this with your employer. If it's creditable, you can continue with your existing coverage and avoid the penalty. But do make sure to verify the creditable status annually, as it can change when your benefits renew each year. If it's non-creditable, you want to consider getting a standalone Part D plan. To satisfy the requirement, focus on getting a low premium plan. However, if you have pretty extensive drug needs, looking at other Part D options might serve you well, as it can coordinate with your existing drug coverage through your employer. One caveat to this is if you have higher income. Medicare charges an IRMA, or income-related monthly adjustment amount, on top of the Part D plan premium you pay to an insurance carrier. Sometimes paying this high income premium just to avoid the penalty doesn't make sense financially. Bottom line, if you're turning 65, you need to at least consider Part D drug coverage. If you delay Part D initially, watch our video How to Remove the Part D Late Enrollment Penalty for more guidance. See you next time.